We've heard from government, we've heard from business, and now we get to hear from the innovative world of nonprofits. Before we do that and hear from these young people to come, I want to offer one other idea, which is social media. This is an opportunity for you to pull out your phones and start tweeting. The hashtag is in your program. It's MA STEM Summit, and you're encouraged throughout the day to tweet. You might even see me tweeting from up here if you pay attention closely. But now, let me introduce our next speaker. Vicki Wu Davis is an educator, an entrepreneur, an activist, and a mom. Inspired by the birth of her older son 8 years ago, Vicki created Youth Cities, an education nonprofit that teaches innovative and entrepreneurial thinking for middle and high school students. She did it to democratize access to that education and to help kids realize that there's room for different personalities, backgrounds, interests, and abilities to make an impact in this world. Her desire is to reach as many youths as possible and as many different types of youths as possible, challenging them to think critically and inspiring them to act innovatively. Vicki cares deeply about education equity and strongly believes that neither zip code, nor gender, nor any other identifying marker should define a person's potential. Through her work at Youth Cities, Vicki's worked to bridge disparate communities, cultivating genuine appreciation for diversity, which in turn fosters innovation and promotes the proliferation of diversity in all areas of leadership. I've known Vicki since she started her mobile startup years ago. She's gone on and everything she's ever done has been entrepreneurial and innovative, and I have no doubt you're going to learn many things from her and the students she's brought with her. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Vicki Wu Davis.
The things you love and have fun with, those are hobbies, those you do in your spare time. You need to learn these things here, which may not be something that you're into, but it will get you job opportunities. Oh, and by the way, here are the opportunities that we want you to be prepared for: doctor, engineer, or business person. This is the type of thinking that my parents had and instilled upon me. Pick your pathway to success. My divorced parents, a computer scientist mom, and an electrical engineer dad, who never agreed on anything, agreed on this. But I was the type of student that could get good grades, and so my parents were proud. Did they know that I didn't retain a thing a week after the test? Did they care that I wasn't, did they realize that I didn't care about what I was learning? Would that have even mattered to them? I mean, I was an honor student after all. I was essentially offered 3 potential pathways of opportunity without really understanding what that meant to me. Internships, which I loved and devoured, helped connect the dots between class and career options. But they weren't enough, and it still didn't connect the dots between career opportunities and me, which meant I still did not fully connect with the classes because I couldn't quite see how relevant they were to me. We are here today because we care about education, either as educators or as parents, or both. We are here today because, like my parents, who saw how critical certain topics and subjects were for my future well-being, we want that same type of well-being for our students' future. We are here today because we believe that it is not just our job to teach, but also for our students to learn. I have brought 3 students with me, and I'd like to have them briefly tell you a little bit about their backgrounds as students way back when, since they're so old now.
Hello, my name is Justin Yu, and I'm a junior in high school. And I've always been interested in STEM ever since I was in middle school. You know, in middle school, I built model rockets, I played with circuits, I coded games, and it was a hobby. It was fun. It was something to do with friends after school, but it wasn't a career. And throughout the years of both middle school and high school, I've been told many times that STEM is a wise career choice. It's provides a steady income, there's many job opportunities, and you can take home, a sizable paycheck. And that's true. It is a wise career choice, but the incentive of STEM as being a stable career was never really struck home. And that's why for a long time, I wasn't really sure about pursuing a career in STEM.
Hello, my name is Emma Boyd. I'm 13 years old and an 8th grade student at McCall Middle School. I have always been an academic-centered kid with a passion for learning. I taught myself to read at 2 and a half, and I've been a voracious speed reader pretty much ever since. When I was 8, I was tested and was apparently gifted years ahead of my age peers academically. In 2nd grade, I attended a gifted school, but it was cost prohibited, and the following year, I returned to public school. A double skip in grade was requested, but ultimately, administrators felt it better that I stay with my peers and coast. In public school again, I found little to no challenge, and the work to be redundant year after year. I quickly descended into boredom and lost my enthusiasm for school altogether.
Hi, my name is Tony Olaka. I'm now a freshman at the University of Pennsylvania. I think most people would say I'm the quote-unquote backdoor STEM kid. There's really no business of me being in a room like this. Growing up, I was a highly competitive tennis player and a jock in every sense of the word. It was the one thing that I would say consumed every thought that I had, every waking second. I was planning on going pro. I tried to get homeschooled so that I could become the next Roger Federer. Despite being interested in learning, I had a couple bad experiences with math early on. And so ultimately, I pretty much just avoid anything involving math, technology, teachers that taught those classes like the plague. And I would say as a dyslexic kid who is anything but detail-oriented, the idea and the image I had of STEM with a bunch of people looking at their computer screens, looking at ones and zeros was not something I envisioned myself doing. And so I thought it's probably just best to leave STEM to the nerds was probably was my perspective. And it was not something I could even play a part in because it just wasn't the way my mind thought. So, thank you.
STEM opportunities were available to each one of them. STEM was taught, but did they learn? Did it click with them? Did it stick? I didn't know what entrepreneurship was till my mid-20s. It wasn't a word that was uttered in my house. But that word, that mindset, permeates my household and my classrooms now. Reflective from my own educational experiences and inspired when I became a mom, I've been working the past 8 years with young people and with educators to show them that entrepreneurship is not just for business-minded people only, but rather it is a set of life skills that are applicable to everyone. I have found that teaching kids how to be entrepreneurial by leveraging one's passion as an entry point for engagement catalyzes a love of learning. It does not define what one should or shouldn't be learning. Rather, when you embed the heart of entrepreneurship into the teaching, you start to open the possibilities in their minds. Entrepreneurship mobilizes STEM interests, helping them discover their own pathway in their lifelong and life-wide journey of learning. I would like to bring the students back up again, and if you could for a moment, view their STEM education and their path to STEM engagement from 3 very different student lenses.
So my view of STEM completely turned upside down when I discovered a new interest of mine, entrepreneurship. And at first, I thought these two were completely unrelated. To me, entrepreneurship is all about creating effective solutions to real-world problems and creating impact in your community. After attending Vicky's program, I saw the entrepreneurship process in action with real entrepreneurs in the field, and I loved it. It just clicked, and I knew in that instant that I wanted to be an entrepreneur in the future. But as I became more and more involved in entrepreneurship, I realized that STEM and entrepreneurship have much more in common than I previously realized. For example, an entrepreneur needs to be able to prove and disprove a hypothesis, run an experiment, and create prototypes in their business ventures, just like any engineer, scientist, or lab researcher. But more importantly, I realized that entrepreneurs share the same goals and focus. They both want to create real solutions to real-world problems, and that's what I loved. That is the essence of STEM that I had not firmly grasped before, and as a result of this realization, my STEM hobby became a STEM passion. I left my model rockets and my circus behind, and I began pursuing STEM projects that really created actual change in the community. For example, I created an app to help kids with type 1 diabetes better manage their disorder and learn about what diabetes is, and creating a web platform for early stage ventures to get prototypes easier when they are resource constrained. So entrepreneurship allowed me to look at STEM through an entirely new lens, and I've realized that because now my motivations and my passions are driven by a desire to create change in the world, in the community, and in the lives of other people, and not from taking home that large paycheck or from that stable income, I've been inspired. That's the reason that I've been inspired to pursue a career in both entrepreneurship and in STEM.
Since as long as I can remember, I've always had a passion for learning. It was kind of my thing. Where other kids were amazing on the soccer field, basketball court, or hockey rink, I was pretty awesome at math, spelling, and reading. I was kind of crazy about learning. We'd go to the library and get stacks and stacks of books. My mom, at one point, figured I read about 43,000 pages a year when I was 7. I read pretty much the entire Harry Potter series before I graduated kindergarten. It's still one of my absolute favorites. But sadly, I lost that passion for learning in one of the most unlikely places of all, school. There, it all seemed, was backwards to me. Learning was basically the same approach for everyone. I got the same lesson at the same pace with everyone who is the same age, not intellect or ability. Assessment tests were based on whether we understood the lesson being taught, not how much we already knew. Elementary school was no longer a fun place of learning for me. Subjects were redundant, homework was repetitive, and I had little to no challenge. I spent my days in complete boredom, and I basically checked out of school. What once was my favorite place on earth quickly became the dullest. But much of all of that has changed. In 6th grade, I found some change for the better and a few STEM enrichment opportunities at school. It was in 7th grade that things really improved for me. I got accepted into the Youth Cities L3 Innovation Challenge. At Youth Cities, Vicki teaches us to have confidence in ourselves and our ideas. She surrounds us with amazing mentors that give us tools and skills to understand entrepreneurship and the confidence to turn our ideas into a reality by showing us how an unmet need can create change and impact within our communities. School is once again one of my favorite places. Turning 12 and attending Youth Cities opened up a lot of opportunities for me. It's true that middle school is a turning point where we begin to understand our independence. School now offers a few more challenges and deeper learning in areas like science, technology, and history. At Youth Cities, they showed me that entrepreneurship is a confluence of mostly every subject I've ever learned and ever will learn. I think it's that convergence of academics that I believe that is what makes learning so exciting to me again. I have a place for all of my ideas. When you think about it, entrepreneurship is like STEM on steroids. Not only is it science, technology, engineering, and math, it's also research, invention, business planning, statistics, marketing, geography, presentation skills, programming, and problem solving. The excitement of STEM and entrepreneurship for me is where all these ideas in my mind come together. Talk about excitement. Vicki brought me and a few other students to the Boston Children's Hospital, where I got to see firsthand cutting-edge technology, medical, technological, and life sciences, where we were shown how a medical emergency requires fast-paced, innovative thinking to save a life. I walked out that day believing I I would someday be a part of and do some of these amazing things. Right now, I'm working on a product that was conceived last year at Youth City's L3 Innovation Challenge, called Virtual Foot. We were then tasked by Children's Hospital with leveraging healthcare's convergence of engineering, computer technology, and life sciences to identify a way to positively impact childhood obesity and diabetes. We met weekly and were helped by an extraordinary volunteer mentor who showed us how we could look at a need and begin a process through the use of technology and entrepreneurship to create a solution to that problem. Each week taught us something new and challenging and put us on the path to understanding entrepreneurship and how we, as kids, could impact our community while driving change. I started to research obesity. I found the statistics staggering. Currently, 1 out of every 6 youths are considered to be obese, and 1 out of 3 considered to be overweight. And unfortunately, obesity can be directly correlated with diabetes. Almost 90% of all diabetics are considered overweight or obese. Although there is no known cure, obesity and diabetes can possibly be prevented with proper diet and exercise. It was the hope of prevention that motivated me to start thinking of a way to prevent my and future generations from such a bleak future. I decided to go after the activity angle as a solution, since I have celiac and know that it is hard to change diet. I looked at the habits of our generation. We are a generation born on technology, tied to smartphones, which at the flick of a finger gives us information, communication, and even entertainment. But time on our phones is time of inactivity. I began to think about getting kids off the couch when they use their phones and make it a time of positive physical activity. It hit me that if we could get people moving to their favorite game, we could not only enhance their gaming experience, but they would now be changing idle time into a positive physical activity that was accessible to everyone, everywhere. We had a home run. So the idea of Virtual Foot was born. My partner and I went on to win the 2015 Health Equity Impact Challenge with Virtual Foot, an insole with accelerometers and pressure sensors that wirelessly syncs to a phone or device. A few months after L3, we entered the March to May Bootcamp, another mind-blowing, amazing experience where participants work with a variety of extraordinary volunteer mentors to start a venture, figure out how it impacts our local community, and determine how it's going to make money while driving change. Building on our Virtual Foot product, we were fortunate enough to come away as runner-up, winning $500 in valuable seed money for our idea, and a special award of assistance in patenting Virtual Foot. As a result of entrepreneurial education, I am once again passionate about learning, creating ideas, and now watching these ideas come to life. I'm proud to say I'm currently working on and seeking a patent for my product, Virtual Foot. It has also inspired me to get more actively involved in other STEM activities. I currently participate in Engineering Club, Girls Who Code, and the Technovation Challenge. I am currently starting a girls' coding club at my school.
That's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair. You know you can't speak after that. Well, over the last 2 years, my experience has been a little bit different. There weren't as many patents involved. Before going to school, I took 2 gap years, and ultimately took my passion for tennis and looked at the problem that I faced, which was finding other people to play tennis with. And I said, what if we built a mobile app to connect athletes at gym sports clubs and colleges? And over the next 18 months, we went on, ended up raising money. Even though I didn't know how to code, we got the team to about 10 people, and then ultimately sold the business at the beginning of the year. And I think for me, the experience was, as someone that was not involved in tech at all, my dad works in a car dealership. My mother is in admissions in my high school. I learned so much it was my foot into learning about the different parts of an application. You know, I learned the things that I wish I knew when I was younger, and it was when I saw what it could do and impact people's lives that I realized, wow, this could be really interesting. And after that, I've now gotten opportunities to partner with people who are actually reinventing the way our phones communicate with their servers and low-level networking for iPhones. And I laugh. I was having a conversation not too long ago, and I was saying how my conversations have gone from talking about who won the US Open to diagnosing network latency for API requests. So in less than 2 years. So I really don't know where to go from there. And so really, what was the inflection point for me? Like, where was the point where I went from being the tennis playing jock and athlete that couldn't sit down and talk about technology and wasn't interested at all, to it, I would say, being a real passion and something I would spend time doing now. I think for me, it was actually when I started going to networking events, and in my senior year of high school, and I just was interested to know what people were doing, how people spent their time, what people I respected, what they did. And I saw that the people that seemed to be building the coolest things, the people that seemed to be solving the problems in the most innovative ways, so many of them involved technology. And so the people that were, I think, the most forward-thinking also would fall in that category, because they were building really scalable solutions, and they all seemed to use technology. And so then the next step for me was participating in Vicky's boot camp. So I think it took all like this pent-up desire and a goal and passion to do something, and I think it pretty directed it in one direction. And that wasn't about the band or anything. And I think the biggest example of how realizing the goal and the actual understanding how something could be applied, mattering, is one of the reasons I went back to school. I think one of the future of technology really has a lot of it has to do with artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I think in the last year, seeing the fact that if you know a little bit of linear algebra and you know a little bit of computer science, or just a little bit of math, a little bit of computer science, you can pretty much do a lot of the applications for machine learning and artificial intelligence. And so, to be honest, do I really care that much about computer science? No. Do I really care that much about math? Not necessarily, but I really care about impacting people's lives. You know, I really love people. And to think that you could build something that could help someone move around their house more efficiently. You could build something that could help schools and improve education technology. And so that, for me, is where I think the connection between seeing entrepreneurship and the STEM could really come together. And so my biggest regret isn't the fact that I haven't written my philosophy paper that's due tomorrow. It really is the fact that, so I still don't really know how to code 100% yet, right? It's the fact that I wish I learned how to code in high school. And so I wish that my teachers growing up had showed me that all the really cool things you can do with technology, all the really cool things you can do with business, all the really cool things that happen when you know this information. Because I think for me, it was just information in a book. And if someone could have said, you know, do you see Steve Jobs? You could kind of do that type of stuff. And I think that would have made me significantly more passionate and interested early on.
So Tony, who called himself the backdoor kid, he can out-geek me in tech speak in any conversation now, especially with his latest startup. And I spent 10 years in the video game space, so so much for the backdoor kid. But interestingly enough, that's not uncommon, right? There are many other students who may kind of qualify as the backdoor kid. So how do we deeply engage our various learners and empower them to make well-informed decisions based off of the evolution of themselves and within the ever-changing landscape of society? I, as a mom, want my 8 and 5-year-old to have a good job that puts food on the table and a roof on their heads, just like my parents wanted that for me. But instead of predefining how they will get there, or pigeonholing them based on their current interests, I want them to discover how the outer workings of the world will click with the inner workings of them. We all recognize STEM is crucial for our future generation. We know that it's not supposed to be education just for a certain type of student. We know that it isn't an option to not teach it to those who are resistant to STEM. So how do we make it meaningful? How do we make it stick? This summit is an awesome opportunity to imagine, to reimagine, and to share how we can ignite the heart in ourselves and in our students. For me, teaching entrepreneurship helped me connect the dots for many students, like and unlike Tony, Emma, and Justin. What will work for you? Throughout the summit, I invite you to consider, how can we create powerful learning opportunities that invite all students, no matter their student profile, to become deeply and genuinely engaged in STEM, one that is not stuck in some particular place in space or time. How will we be best preparing our students for opportunities, regardless of the path they take? Thank you very much.